My brother was the assistant head coach and got cut. And he said, you suck. So this is the blessing in this all.
What do you mean by overnight success? Actually, you're going down like the freaking border of Mexico.
So I go to the Wild West. I get to Cheyenne, saw real cowboys.
Yeah.
But now I had to get back to civilization. So I played on a lot of professional tour teams. This is what brought it full circle for me. They was taking a big gamble with me. I struggled to see if I can work within those confines.
If you could give advice to the coach starting now.
When you got a program, you don't rebuild, you reload. Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
A eureka moment where you knew that you had something.
All of my kids graduated.
There's nothing more brutal knowing that like you could have had it. Can we make a deal?
I let God kind of direct my path. This is called The Undertaker because we finna bury this team. I had no thoughts on coming to Northwest to coach. What can I offer these young ladies?
We call it the SEC.
I asked the question during my interview. It's a blunt question. Is Waukee ready for a black coach? And is that community? It was said to me.
Well, I guess just welcome to the show, Coach Powell, and coming on and taking the time to be here. Can you kind of just introduce yourself and give everyone who's listening kind of an idea who you are?
Okay, well, first off, I'm glad to be here. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to sit down and have a conversation about basketball, my favorite topic. My name is Sam Powell. I am the head coach at Waukee Northwest. I was the former head coach at Des Moines East for 16 years, and now my journey has brought me here. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah.
I played basketball at Drake University, and in Chicago I played for perennial powerhouse Westinghouse High School.
Yeah.
If anybody has ever saw the documentary Hoop Dreams, Westinghouse High School is featured in that documentary.
I personally haven't, but yeah.
Yep. So my journey has led me here to Drake University, and now I'm a Des Moines native. I guess I'm a lifer.
Yeah. So I kind of just want to talk about just the beginning of your career. Like, how did you get your start in basketball? Was it just from the age of like 1 year old, like you always had a basketball in your hands, the parents gave it to you, or like how did you just get your start? Because I knew you eventually went on to play college basketball at Drake. So
it was actually just the opposite. I grew up wanting to play baseball because my older brother, he played in AAA. In the Minnesota Twins farm system.
Oh, sweet.
I always grew up wanting to play ball. And, interesting story is that growing up, I grew up on the west side of Chicago. Pretty tough neighborhood, had a strong family, strong values, mother and father. One of the things is I tried out for the baseball team in 5th grade. And I just knew I would make it because my brother was the assistant head coach and got cut. And I can remember.
Tough love from the brother.
Yeah, tell me about it. I can remember going home and I was sobbing. I didn't make the team. I couldn't believe my brother had cut me. I'm thinking how unfair that was. And once we got home, I asked him, why did you cut me? And he said, you suck. I mean, literally.
Straight up.
Right. He just told me straight up, you suck. And I realized I did suck. And that kind of turned me on to basketball. And growing up in Chicago, basketball was just everybody played the sport, and obviously there's a lot of rich tradition in Chicago. All types of professional athletes and some of the greatest basketball players came out of Chicago, Illinois. And just coming up to Chicago, it was a journey because in my high school, my first year of high school, it was 200 kids tried out for the basketball team. 200 kids tried out.
I'm guessing probably isn't like today where they just keep everyone. Do they cut people, right?
They cut them. But it's always been, even in, we called it, even in our junior high, they cut.
Yeah.
So I got cut at 7th grade. I made the team in 8th grade. Didn't play very much. Went to high school. And I remember first year of tryouts, I see you go into the gym and there's 1-inch masking tape with numbers 1 through 200. So when you come in, you grab a number, stick it on. I would swear to people they cut me while I was tying my tennis shoes. I believe I didn't even get a chance to warm up.
Yeah.
You go, you don't see your name posted, that means you got cut. I get cut in the first round. I'm very discouraged at that point.
Yeah.
So my sophomore year, I go out again for the team.
Were you like playing basketball in between these two, or did you have like a travel team? I don't know. Travel is completely different now, but
right. AAU was we didn't necessarily have the resources in our neighborhood. You really had to stay in that neighborhood because you go outside of there. The gangs and the drug activity was just so. It was at its peak. So you really was confined to your neighborhood. And so I played in the alleys of Chicago, different things along those lines. Can't say I worked that hard. I don't even know if I knew how to work on my game at that point in time.
Yeah.
So my sophomore year, I try out. I make it to the second round. I get cut again. And
Brutal.
I'm so, just because at Westinghouse High School, if you don't, back then, they didn't call it JV and varsity. It was called Frost South, freshman and sophomore. So it's called Frost South. Mm-hmm. And it was 2 teams. Either you was on Frost South or you was on varsity. That's it. Yeah. And the tradition at our high school, if you didn't play what you would call JV, you can best believe you're not going to make the varsity team.
Yeah.
So going to my junior year, I can remember the basketball coach was also the driver's ed coach. And he saw me in the simulator. He says, "Damn, Powell, you have grown like a weed. Try out for the team." I'm looking at him like, man, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So this is the blessing in this all. So my junior year, they had signs posted all around the high school. I had grew to about 6'4". They had signs posted all around high school. Basketball trials today, basketball trials today. So I can remember my best friend, who was probably 5'2". We were with a group of young
You can see
ladies.
the difference. Just like you two walking through the hallway.
Yeah, like my cousin Vinny. So if you ever seen that movie. But I can remember vividly, we're with a group of girls and we're heading to the exit. It was 2:02, the end of the school day. And we was walking and laughing. So I assumed he thought I was going to detour and go to tryouts. And I kept walking. We get to the front door. He stopped. He said, "Hey," in front of the girls, he said, "Hey, where the hell are you going?" I said, "I'm going home." He said, "What do you mean you're going home? There's trials today. You're not going to try?" I was like, "Look, man, I'm not going to embarrass myself. I got cut 2 years in a row. You know, if you don't play frost off or JV, what we would call it here, you're not going to make team." He absolutely snapped. He called me, think of some of the names that you would call, to virgin ears, don't need to know. He went on this rant, and he called me some of the worst names that I have ever heard. And I either had to make a decision because I was embarrassed in front of these girls. And here I am, 6'4", and he's 5'2".
Yeah.
And he was my absolutely best friend. I either had to punch him and fight him, or I had to go try out to shut him up. The blessing in it is I tried out, I made the team. Mm-hmm. I didn't play my junior year much. My senior year, I became this overnight sensation. We were one of the top high school basketball players in Illinois. All of these scholarship offers. And I wonder, that was the opportunity for me to go to college and get it paid for. Where I'm from, nobody went to college. They taught you in vocations how to work with your hands. So the blessing, we're best friends to this day. And I go back, and I wonder, I would have never had a strong family, so I would have never been involved in games. I would have finished school. I would have did all those things. But I don't know if I would have went to college. So the blessing in this, it's a huge part of my life that I attribute to him, because if he hadn't challenged me, I don't know if I would have never played the game. I wouldn't have never played the game at this level.
Yeah, gone on to play in college and change all these lives. Yeah. Kind of, I want to talk a little bit about the overnight success part. Was in your junior year, were you finally given the resources to the gym or just other things like that in order to kind of just put your nose down and just go as hard as you can trying to get better at the game? Or was it just what do you mean by overnight success?
Yeah, I think the junior year, because I can't say I worked as hard as I possibly could. My father was a blue-collar worker, so he never played any sports. My brother played baseball. A lot of them were so much older than me, so they was on with their lives. They worked with me periodically. But I really started to take the game more seriously because I felt like I had accomplished something. Felt like I didn't believe it in myself when I was cut. I didn't go home and eat my Wheaties and do my push-ups. Yeah. So I really felt like once I made that team, I had accomplished something. So I spent even more time, started playing in some pickup leagues and different things along those lines. And before I know it, I always say it's like I was jumping 36 inches. All of a sudden, God touched me and said, "You can jump, you can score down low, you're this fantastic forward that can run the floor." So those are the things. But I worked more and I took the game more seriously.
Kind of going into your decision, what made you decide to choose Iowa compared to staying in the state of Illinois? I'm guessing it's probably a bit closer than some other offers, whether it was complete East Coast and complete West Coast. But why did you choose Drake?
Yes, a good question. So now the interest here is the blessing in it all. Is when I came out, because I only played really 1 year high school ball. I was headed to the University of Texas El Paso. If you ever seen the movie, you ever get a chance to see the movie Glory Road, this is where the head coach at that point in time, Don Haskins, was the head coach. And Don Haskins had a tradition of developing players, and he had really recruited the Chicago area. So I was headed to the University of Texas El Paso. Well, Coach Haskins wanted to redshirt me. My brothers, at that point in time, my mother, I'm the baby of 9 kids.
Dang. Yeah.
So, tell me about it. So my mother, I was a mama's boy. My mother passed when I was 12. So my daddy, again, he was a blue-collar worker, so he worked all the time. So the thing is, it was just me and him. My sisters and brothers had moved out the house, and they was out on their own. So at that point in time, my brothers, my 2 older brothers, they're my role models. So at the end of the day, and my dad, in a certain, not in a more or less the sports aspect of it, just his hard work and work ethic. And at that point, my brothers was like, he can't redshirt, he needs to play. So here's another awkward thing that happened. The blessing is that, so UTEP agreed to say, okay, he'll redshirt here, here's what we'll do. We'll send him to Mesa Community College, which is in Arizona, which is right in their backyard. Because back then, you had junior colleges, like if kids didn't make their grades and things like kids that was recruiting, they'd send them to their junior college where they can be closer, they can watch them develop. Here was the difference. Mesa Community College, growing up, can't say we wasn't rich. We had the basic needs and a little more than that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, going to Mesa didn't offer 4 scholarships. So back then, you call it your FOSFA, you had to use your Pell Grant. It was called a Pell Grant then. So you had to use your Pell Grant, which at that point in time was probably like $1,200 for the year. Well, we're talking about back in 1987, way before you were born. Yeah. So that was a lot of freaking money. So that Pell Grant, because they didn't give scholarships, you had to use your Pell Grant to pay for school. Then I had all these other junior colleges like, oh, you can keep that. We got scholarships. So what happened? From the west side of Chicago, my brothers decided that there was a junior college called Laramie County Community College in Cheyenne, Wyoming. West side of Chicago, Cheyenne, Wyoming. And my brothers
going all over the place. Down to Texas, you're going down like the freaking border of Mexico. That's where my mom used to live. So really? She told me all these stories of like Spanish. Like she's like, I went and tried out for the soccer team and like cried when she went home. Right. I don't know Spanish, and all the girls speak in Spanish. Like I try to talk to them, and like
there you have it.
So it's like all over the place.
So my brothers were they were my role models, but they was also the enforcers of the family. So they was intimidating. These were some big. My brothers, 2 brothers, are big tough guys. So it was like, hey, you're gonna go to junior college in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I was like, I am. So I go to the Wild West. I get to Cheyenne. I'm like, oh my God, I saw real cowboys. I'm like, this is a kid coming from the city. So
to the middle of nowhere.
Yes, I went there. I spent 2 years in junior college. Best experience of my life. Got myself re-recruited, developed into, if I want to pat myself on the back, a heck of a basketball player. At that point in time, my choices was Drake, Gonzaga, Kansas State, Clemson, and the University of Wyoming. So I visited
some pretty good choices,
Yeah, I visited all those schools, and I had been away from home so long. My family was in Chicago. Drake was within 4.5, 5 hours.
Yeah, pretty close.
My family can afford to come see me. And that was the decision to come to Drake.
Did you, going into Drake after being there at a community college for 2 years, was it weird kind of adjusting from the middle of nowhere, Wyoming? Like I've been to some towns in Wyoming where there's just nothing there. I'm guessing it was probably not exactly nothing, but some similar stuff. Was it weird going from that to Drake? Or is it a bit more of a city? Obviously it's completely different, but is there something that you fell in love with the city and why you decided to stay?
Yeah, when I came on my visit here, I got a feel for it. And it was the biggest aspect, it was closer to home. Then Drake had agreed to say, hey, if you sign with us, we'll schedule a game against DePaul, back Chicago State. We'll schedule those games so you can play back in front of your friends and family in Chicago. So they made a promise to schedule those games. So it was close. I really didn't, because it was a mix. I had been out in the Wild West, and Wyoming was great.
Yeah.
But now I had to get back to civilization. So Drake and Des Moines was like the in-between Chicago and Wyoming.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty easy decision, an easy transition.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like after your like collegiate career like ended, was like, first of all, like what was your major, and like what made you decide to want to continue basketball like coaching?
Well, so my major was criminal justice, criminal justice sociology. You know, I grew up in Chicago. I saw a lot of struggles. Yeah. I saw a lot of kids that didn't make it for various reasons. I always knew, you know, like every kid coming from Chicago, I thought I was going pro. I thought I'd be on Yo MTV Cribs. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to find, if I didn't play pro, if I didn't go to NBA, I was like, I want to find a way to help kids beat the streets. Mm-hmm. So I always knew I wanted to work with kids and families, and that's my career right now. Yeah. And I've been doing that ever since I graduated from Drake. Mm-hmm. So that kind of was my that was kind of my secondary choice. My number one choice obviously would be playing in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean that's my choice, to be honest. Like going pro and making millions of dollars. But yeah.
Right. Yep.
So like out of college, what was like the first job? Was the first job just at East High School, and like did you become a head coach right after that, or when did like coaching come into the picture?
So it's interesting. So I played on a lot of professional tour teams after Drake. I would tour around. We would play different college teams. We would play some at that point in time. They had the CBL, the Continental Basketball League. We used to go scrimmage and play. So I played up until late 30s. I was playing and touring around. Here's the difference. Another thing. So
were you married at that time or no?
No, I have never actually been married.
Oh, okay.
So, but I got two daughters. So I'm gonna talk about my oldest daughter. So at that point in time, my oldest daughter was born. She was born in 1992.
Okay.
She was born in 92. She's like 30-some years old.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what changed it. This is what brought it full circle for me. So I was so busy chasing my dreams, you know, trying to still think I'm going to get drafted and touring around. And I worked a job. I spent time with my family. Drake was on our tour. So we was on a tour. We was on like a 30-day tour, and Drake was one of the schools on our tour. So we came back and we played Drake. Halftime, my daughter had to be third grade. Mm-hmm. At halftime, and obviously I'm back home at Drake. Everybody, hey, welcome, Sam Powell is back. So they call him out at halftime to shoot baskets. My daughter's third grade. She goes up to the free throw line, and she hits the basket because it's Sam Powell's daughter. Crowd went crazy, right? Mm-hmm. I was just as surprised as everybody. I didn't realize I was so busy chasing my dream. She had taken up a passion for the game. Mm-hmm. At that point in time, I hung up the Air Jordans, and my focus went to her. So we started putting her in leagues, and, you know, I was doing little daddy coaching, you know, school teams. Then I started my own AAU program called the Des Moines Rockers. Mm-hmm. It just kind of blew up. I had girls from all over the greater Des Moines area playing. We had great success. You heard of the All Iowa Attack.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be the Ames Bombers back then, and that was our rivalry. So that just kind of, that desire started to manifest in me to want to do more. And what happened is East High School approached me. They had an open head coaching job, and they came to me. At that point in time, I was running all the Boys and Girls Clubs in Central Iowa, and I had my AAU team was through the Boys and Girls Club. Yeah. And they came and asked me, would I be interested in being a head coach? So that's how that started. And I just kind of prayed about it. And God really put it on my heart that this was the direction my life was supposed to go. So that's how I started coaching at Des Moines East.
Yeah. Did you have to go back to school at all to get like a teaching degree? Did you have to start teaching at the East, or was it just like a role where you could just be the head coach and not have to, like, because I know at least I think here you had that like coach or like be a teacher of some kind in order to coach?
Well, typically it is. So I didn't have to get in. You know, I had my college degree. All I had to do is get a coaching certification.
Oh, okay.
So once I got that, they was willing, and you're absolutely right, is that they prefer for the coach to work in the school.
Mm-hmm.
But with me, they recruited me to be their head coach.
Yeah.
So they was willing to say, we'll take a chance. And it was a huge chance, man, because I had no high school coaching experience.
Mm-hmm.
So they was taking a big gamble with me.
Yeah, kind of going into the first few seasons where you're with them, like part of that gamble, like what was on your mind? Were you just trying to like prove yourself and like get success? Like just like what would success look like for you in order like you to continue down this road of getting that position?
Well, at that point in time, Des Moines East, they wasn't very good.
Yeah.
They lost way more than they won. You know,
Mm-hmm.
games that you kind of see now throughout the metro schools getting, constantly getting beat by 60, 50 points. I really question whether, with AAU, you have so much freedom and flexibility to kind of do things
Mm-hmm.
as you wish. I struggled because I struggled to see if I can work within those confines. Can I work within those rules? And then it was some great coaches in the metro. I really questioned, can I be successful?
Mm-hmm.
So it started off slow. But
Yeah.
I guess what helped jumpstart the program, once I took the job, open enrollment, especially with regards to my kids that have been in my AAU programs, open enrollment just boomed. And
Yeah.
before you know it, kids just transferred in. So that helped kind of jumpstart things along those lines. But I learned some tough lessons. And, I would say to you is that any coach that would tell you, it's times I got out-coached because I didn't have the experience. And I would venture to say any coach that would be totally honest would say the same thing. It's times you get out-coached. You learn. Again, we always talk about no pain, no gain. If you don't have failure, you can't. Failure is a necessary ingredient in success.
Yeah.
And so it took a minute, but the success pretty much starts within the second year at East.
Yeah, kind of looking back at those like beginning moments,
Mm-hmm.
was there any, like if you could give advice to a coach starting now, what would be like either one or two things you would say to them getting started at like not having a ton of experience, especially going to a big coaching role?
You got to be willing to listen. You got to be willing to listen. You got to be willing to listen to other people's perspective and learn. There's a level, when we think of immaturity, we think of it as adolescence, and you got to mature, you grow hair on your chest.
Yeah.
Well, that's coaching and maturity too. There's
Mm-hmm.
coaching and maturity that you learn. You learn not to badger the reps. You learn how to communicate with the reps. You learn you can't coach all the girls the same. Their personalities are different.
Mm-hmm.
You learn X's and O's after you get burned a few times, what works and what doesn't
Yeah.
work. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned. So I would say always be open-minded. Always be. And when you think you know it all, that's when you're pretty much on your way out. You're done. And even to this day, and even at my age, if one of my seventh graders come and say, hey, Coach, I got this great drill from this camp, I want to see it. I'm open. I want to see it. I'm always looking to improve and getting better. So always keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
The next piece of advice I would give them is this. For years at Des Moines East, I always wondered some of the traditional powerhouses, the Dowlings of the world.
Yeah.
At that point in time, Waukee wasn't even in existence. It was Dowling, it was Valley, it was it was Ankeny. I always wonder what made those programs dominant. And each and every year, and it was their feeder system. It was they invested in their young kids. So when you come in, the piece of advice I would give, invest, build a feeder program. Because what happened is, I can remember in when we won the state title in 2011 at Des Moines East, the reporter said to me, I had like 8 seniors. He said to me, Coach Powell, you got 8 seniors, 5 of them were starters. You got to rebuild. And I said to him with no arrogance, when you got a program, you don't rebuild, you reload. When you got a team, you rebuild. So
just new opportunities for people.
Exactly. So it's kind of like when you look at the Iowa Cubs and the Chicago Cubs. Mm-hmm. All you do is reload. So I feel strongly you have to invest in your younger kids.
Yeah.
You got to invest in your younger kids.
Yeah. Do you feel like that was part of like the success that you built as a program? Because like I have the accolades right here in front of me, but like at some point, like it probably like turned from bad to good to great. Mm-hmm. But like going into like that good was the thing that made the difference the most was development of athletes who were like in the 6th and 7th grade. And then like once after a few years you being there, like eventually like pushed over to the point where you're like getting to the where you're like a 0.5 or you're over like you're winning more games and you're losing games. Like what eventually got you over that initial bump? Because the bump from like not winning to winning versus winning to like dominating, yeah. So like, what was that for second half?
I just think the buy-in from the community, the buy-in from the players and the families and the support that we received. I think that was the difference, and it also helps. You know, there's an old saying: you can't win a Kentucky Derby with a donkey. So what does that mean? That means you got to have some horses. I don't care how good of a coach you are. You got to have some horses to be successful. And I was blessed with some of those kids open the road, and then it was some existing players here that we went to work right over the summer, and we was able to develop them. You know, I will say to you, we was competitive instantly. And then after the next year, we slowly transitioned to become one of the tougher teams in which was then the CIML conference.
Yeah. When you kind of talked about buying in, was there just like an attitude shift from like, what do you mean by like the athletes and also like the community? Was it just like a lot of people started seeing like some of the smaller successes and were like, okay, this is something, like let's like put a little something towards it so we can like, what do you mean by like them buying in?
The buy-in is the belief that, hey, we buy in whatever you do. We support it. We believe it. We don't question it. So that buy-in is crucial. I think any championship coach will tell you, if your coaches and players they don't totally buy into what you're selling, it ain't gonna work. So at the end of the day, I think what I was able to do, I'm real big on relationships. Yeah, it was really, it's cliches, but it says kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's instantly my heart. I think kids knew my heart, and sometimes I had to give them some tough love. Sometimes I had to discipline them in ways. We had some kids in the program that didn't have a mother and a father in the home, come from broken home, low socioeconomic backgrounds and things like that. So sometimes things were tough. Sometimes I had to be a parent. Sometimes I had to be a teacher during tutoring times, and sometimes I had to be the disciplinarian. But I think what each and one of them girls understood is that Coach Powell loved you way beyond. It was never about winning for me. And I say this with all honesty. They don't like to hear me say this in Northwest. It's not about winning for me. I think the winning comes. It just comes.
As a byproduct,
No doubt about it. Totally comes as a byproduct. So at the end of the day, I want, if nothing else, I want these girls. So when you talk about my philosophy, that's part of my philosophy. I think you can't just coach kids. You can try. Times have changed. You can't just coach and go home and not be involved in all the parts or know nothing else about their life. Yeah. So I think you got to take this holistic approach and take an interest, whether it's show choir, whether it's dance or what have you. I think it's a holistic approach because that let kids know, hey, he cares about me beyond his basketball court.
Yeah. Do you think that always was something that you had, or was there a point in time in a season where you, I'm not saying like you were never not doing it, but like paid more attention to that? Like, was there a point in time where that happened, or was it always your approach coming into the
It was always
coaching?
My approach. I wasn't afraid, it was always my approach. I wasn't afraid to tell my kids I love them. I wasn't afraid to discipline them when they need to be disciplined and provide that guidance. So that has always been a part of me. And it's a balance with anything. That was balance with the on-the-court development.
So kind of going from like the good, the better, the best, you're kind of moving to the best because like some of these accolades is like 5 state tournament appearances, including the championship in 11 and runner-up in 10. And then like 13 Metro State titles, which was before, and then 3 like undefeated seasons. And like your record was 253 and 88, and you were 7-time CIML Conference Coach of the Year, which is crazy, right? So kind of going to like the first few tastes of success, like was that with the super young team kind of similar like last year for Northwest or even heck of this year where like is there even like seniors on the team this year for Northwest? Seniors. Yeah, which is crazy to think. Like you just won't have any seniors, and like some of the key players are not seniors or younger. Like at the beginning success at East, was that from some of these younger players, and you could kind of see like the fruition of like you guys getting winning seasons and then also like getting conference titles? Like when was that push and like eventual get to that point? Do you remember when that first moment was?
Well, what kind of gave me a head start is because, I had that AAU program.
Mm-hmm.
So once I came into East, the AAU program, we just kind of dismantled it. Well, they had started with some of those girls followed. So I had some of those girls since 4th grade. So I already knew their talent level.
Yeah.
What I didn't know, I didn't pay a ton of attention to the high school game. Some, but not much. So I didn't really know I had a sense how they would truly measure coming in as freshmen against some of these traditional powerhouse teams and some of the girls at that point in time that was in the metro that was like amazing basketball players.
Yeah.
But I had a good sense. So I kind of had a head start.
Mm-hmm. Was there ever a moment in time, kind of like a eureka moment, where like you knew that you had something here, kind of like the flash of the gold in the pan? Mm-hmm. Was there a moment where like, was it winning a big game against a powerhouse, where it's kind of like one of those first seasons when you won the conference? Was there ever a moment like that or a story?
Yes, it was. Being in a school, Des Moines East, which is in the inner city, the eureka moment probably had nothing to do with basketball. It was really the impact, because I looked at the number of kids after my fourth or fifth year at the East. All of my kids graduated. Now when you look now at the graduation rate at some of the city schools, it's shocking.
Yeah.
And it's shocking. It's so discouraging. It's disappointing. And I know the school districts are working really, really hard to try to change it. But what was a eureka moment for me is when I saw the influence I had over those girls.
Yeah.
Girls who may have not wanted to go to school or go to all these classes, they was graduating. They were successful. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of after that 4th year, when that first wave of girls, everybody graduated. Then they went to college.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, now I'm starting to see what type of influence and impact I can potentially have using basketball as the platform.
Yeah. Can you kind of just walk through the very first time that you either made it to the state tournament or kind of won that first conference title? Mm-hmm. Was that team something special, or was it just straight grind of this team that just was like so bought into the fact about this?
It's hard to say one team was more special. Most people go back to the state tournament team. All of my teams were special for me. I can't say either which moment, but I will say the 2011 team. I had those kids. Most of those kids came up through my feeder program, and I know their struggles. They knew my struggles coming in as a minority coach. Mm-hmm. There was some struggles. Not everybody liked that.
Yeah.
I met resistance. I met obstacles. And I guess to watch those girls continue, they always was professional. Yeah. They always did it with class. And to watch them celebrate their dream of winning a state title, that was special in itself for me. It wasn't necessarily me personally winning a state title. It was watching them accomplish their dream and overcoming some of those barriers and obstacles.
Yeah, when it comes to like that team, obviously we talked about this a little bit earlier. Like with that team, was there something that was just different than all the other ones? Was it just the fact that all 8 of them have been seniors and they've been with you for this long amount of time? Or was it just something that was bound to happen in the program? Because in 2010, you guys were the runner-ups, so like you guys were like right there. Mm-hmm. And I've lost championships before, and there's nothing more brutal knowing that like you could have had it, but maybe it was just out of reach or other things like that. And then like what was kind of that whole leading up to that, the championship?
I think what it was is that group of kids have been together. That was my first. I came in 2004, so I kind of mix and match. I kind of mix and match players. Some players was here, some wasn't, some transferred in, some didn't. This group of players, all players that came up through our feeder program and stayed together. Yeah. So I think that's what made it special, because I was able to watch them grow all the way from 4th grade, and just watch them grow. So I think that's what made that team so special.
Do you have any like stories from that team that like either were your favorite moments or like something that was like super shocking, like game-winning moments or anything like that from that team, or that are like burned into your memory, I guess?
There's a lot of them. I'm trying to think of one that sticks out of my mind.
And your daughter was on that team, right? When she was a senior, or no?
So my daughter played for me. My youngest daughter. Yeah. Yes, my oldest daughter never played for me in high school. She moved. Her mom got married and they moved away to North Carolina, so she never played. She played for me at AAU. My youngest daughter, her mom got married, moved to Florida, but they came back at the start of her junior year. Then she says, hey, I want to play ball. I want to live with my dad. So she came. They live right up the road in Iowa City. Mm-hmm. So she came. So she played with me. She graduated in 19.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that kind of panned out. I would think of the state championship, the day of the state championship. You mentioned I had on a black suit.
Yeah, I actually have a picture of it. Yeah. I mean, you're kind of crying a little bit. It's like a picture of the video, but
those aren't tears, man. Those are fake tears. No, I was emotional.
Yeah, I mean, I would be too. You kidding me? Like, I was freaking out when we won championship.
So here's the story I'll tell you behind it. So as you mentioned earlier, you said, man, you was a pretty sharp dresser. That's just, the suits and things like that. Well, I had never wore a black suit.
Like, come on, look at that watch. Like, you're a bit mad in that picture, but like, you're looking clean. It's all I'm saying, yeah.
They said, we have never, I had never ever, all those years, I had never worn a black suit.
Mm-hmm. So just straight to business, and it's just you. Yeah.
So I come in state championship because, as you mentioned, we had runner up to Kia Stokes now in the WNBA and Linmar in 2010.
Okay, yeah.
So we planned a championship game against Iowa City West, and I was like, wow, I'm nervous. I'm like, I got to get them loose. I got to do something to get them going. So I come in the locker room. Normally when I come in the locker room, I want to suit. The girls like, oh, Coach Powell, check out Coach Powell. He's clean and things like that. So I come in with the black suit on, and I have this serious look on my face. Mm-hmm. And the girls come, one of the girls run up as soon as I come in, oh, look at Coach Powell. And, and he got on a black suit, and he's all sharp, and he's dressed. And I was like, and I never laughed or smiled. Mm-hmm. And she was like, they used to name my suits. So sometimes they'll say,
That's
awesome. This is a butt-kicking suit.
Yeah.
So I come in with the black suit on. One of my players says, oh, look at Coach Powell. He's got on a butt-kicking suit. I said, no. And I didn't smile or laugh. I said, this is not the butt-kicking suit.
Yeah.
This is called the Undertaker because we finna bury this team. And they was just, they just got like, they was like, kick open the door, let's go. And I said it real. I was like, no, this is called the Undertaker because we getting ready to bury this team.
Oh my God.
And they was so pumped.
I would go crazy. Pumped. I can't even lie. Mm-hmm. That would be insane.
Yeah, they was so pumped.
Yeah. Like from that team, like especially going to that tournament because there's a game every single day. Like, was that just like the first day or was that like the championship game?
That was the championship. When I came into the locker room for pregame.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, I couldn't find the score, but what was the score of that game? And was it close? Was it like a thriller or was it
like
just...
maybe a 10-point game. I can't remember the exact score. But I think it was like a 10-point game.
Yes, you did bury them. So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Can you kind of just like the peak and what everything one's looking for is to get to that moment of like the top, right? Like what can you just describe what it was like winning a championship just with that team with 8 seniors from that team? Like,
it was it was validation for me that they bought in, they believed in me, and they allowed me to guide them. I think that was the biggest thing for me is that somebody bought into me and believed in me to say I'll do anything Coach Powell tells me to do. If I told them to go outside and shoot free throws in the snow with no shoes on and you'll be a 90% shooter, they wouldn't even question it. They're going to do it. I think I don't know this part if in your research, if you saw this, I think the celebratory moment for me is all 5 of those kids on that team, all 5 starters went Division I.
All of them did?
All 5 starters.
I knew, it says right here you had 14 Division I basketball signings.
Yes. And that was at the time of the court ceremony. There's been more Division I players since that time. But on
all 5 of them went Division I?
All that 2011 team. 1 went to Western Illinois on the 4 ride. 1 went to UNI. 1 went to Notre Dame. Markeisha Wright played for a national title for Muffet McGraw. So I got these pictures with her and guarding Brittany Griner.
That's crazy.
Things like that. I had 1 go to Bradley, and the other one went to Missouri State. So signing day.
That's insane.
All 5 of them were sitting there. All 5 starters went Division I.
Oh my gosh! Did like any of the other seniors go anywhere too, or
Yeah,
just
some of them,
D2, D1,
yeah,
D3?
like junior college and D1. There was a couple other ones, but those 5 starters, all 5. And then here's the other thing, and this is the part, I was only 2% minority or African American. Well, it may be a little higher now. All 5 of those kids was African American kids.
Yeah,
all 5. So that was something the state had never ever seen before. All 5 of those African American kids. And like I said, one of my kids, Markeisha Wright, went on to Notre Dame. She went to Notre. She played for 3 or 4 national titles. So
that's crazy work. Yeah, and also it says here that I'm pretty sure this is still true, but you're the first and only African American coach to lead a team to like the basketball state championship and like win
in women's basketball.
In women's basketball, yeah.
As far as I know, the history says I'm the only African American coach to ever in 5A to win a state title in girls basketball.
What do you think like that means just for showing other people of color, I guess?
I think it sets a standard. It sets a standard. There's people who blazed that trail far before I came who should have been recognized. And just the timing wasn't right for whatever the reason is. So I think it blazed a trail for others to follow along those lines. Just being the first, and it really hasn't. It still haven't even set in with me that you're the first to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe at some point, maybe a few more years when I'm done with basketball and I'm not doing practice plans and scouting reports, I have time to sit down and just dedicate to reflect on, my coaching experience. Yeah.
When you were in like kind of just, I guess just the heat of this moment of like all these titles, like the 10th and before the title, like the stumbling upon my words right now, but like the runner-up finish before state and like winning all of these like 13 titles and undefeated seasons and stuff like that. Like, did you ever have the time to just like sit there and like pause and reflect on everything that would happen, or did it always just seem like it was just like this? It was just this moment in time, and you like when you eventually retired.
I can't say I have, because even when I retired, my daughters played. My oldest daughter played at Georgetown.
Yeah, which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah, when the Biggies was the Biggies. So, and she played. She was a starting guard on that team. She went to the NCAA tournament, played against UConn and the great Gino Oriana. And right after I retired in 19, my youngest daughter went on to play Division I ball at Merrimack College in Boston. So I was traveling back and forth. And now my youngest daughter, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, she's 23. My youngest daughter had an extra COVID year after she graduated.
Oh, yeah, 5th year.
And yes, so she went to the University of West Georgia, which was transitioned to D1, which is D1 this year. Really excelled. So she's now playing professional ball over in Germany.
Oh, dang. Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. So she's living in Germany right now?
She lives in Stuttgart, Germany. And my oldest daughter played in the Czech Republic, so she played professionally as well.
Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. I also just think that both your daughters going D1 is just ridiculous to begin with.
It is something to think about, because I will tell you this, man. Coaching, any coach tells you that their family ain't on the back burner when you coach. If you serious, if you coaching and you're about winning, you got a winning program, man, your family is on the back burner. And just with me, my daughters eventually moved to different states, so that was a challenge in itself. So I'm totally blessed to have the relationship. My girls are daddy girls. They love their pop. So at the end of the day, I'm blessed because, man, they understood. If they ask, what's the highest professions when you think about for divorce rate? Doctors and lawyers and probably coaches. Because you're gone, man, and your family, you sacrifice so much. It's games. It was the same season. So I couldn't always be down at Georgetown for some of her biggest games. Live stream wasn't an option at that point in time.
You can't just look it up on the internet.
Exactly. So, I'm just really blessed to be able to have that relationship with them at this point, because they shared their daddy with everybody else.
Yeah. In some of the interviews that I saw and looking into all of it, which was also kind of like the decision to eventually leave and stuff, you said that you missed like 80% of your daughter who went to Georgetown. And then also, like, it helped make the decision easier when your daughter, who was a junior at the time, came and played at East. Did you decide Did you decide to retire because your daughter, went to play at the Division I level and you wanted to be at the games? Was that one of the reasons why you eventually decided to step down?
Yeah, that's exactly why. Because my oldest daughter, unfortunately, she was the first, so I missed, like I said, 80%. I saw things on CBS because she was on major TV networks and things like that. I was able to travel to see her when she was in high school and play AAU, but again, she lived in Virginia Beach. Yeah. My youngest daughter, when I started to look and I started to say, hey, you'll be 50 years old soon. At the end of the day, I know I'm not having no more kids. So I wanted to know what it felt like to be at those games, not having to rush off and do a scouting report, a practice plan, get ready for practice. And I wanted to know what it felt like to be able to give my kid a Gatorade at the end of that game, or to be in the stands, yelling at refs, eating nachos and popcorn and enjoying the game. So at that point, when she decided she wanted to go on and play college ball, it was clear to me, this is the last kid I'm going to have. It was clear to me, I want to be able to be there. I want to be there to support her. That's why I stepped down from the game. Now, it definitely wasn't because of a love for a game. And she went to DMAC initially for 2 years. Then she earned the D1 scholarship, went to Boston, graduated 2 years. Then she went on to University of West Georgia. Now she's playing professionally.
Yeah. With that decision, with that decision, was it hard to turn off that coaching brain of yours? Because I'm guessing anytime you go to a basketball game, I mean, it would probably be, I think I would speculate, I don't actually know, but is it difficult to just turn off the basketball brain that you have, sitting there looking at a game, looking at a player and be oh, that player was good, or stuff like that? I mean, everyone's going to be oh, this person was off, or this person was going insane, but is it hard to turn that off when you eventually decided to retire for the interim time, as of now?
Surprisingly, it wasn't. Because at that point in time, I had gave so much of me to this game. I wanted to be there totally focused on my kids. So, of course, I look at areas that she could improve and get better. We go in the gym now. It was an opportunity for 16 years, 20 years. I was in the gym with everybody else's kid. Now, after my kid was close by, I can go in the gym with my kid and work on her jump shot and work on her handles and, other fundamentals of the game. And I would like to think that it had something to do with her continuing to progress. And now she's playing professionally.
Yeah.
Over in Germany.
Do you think that once she kind of moved on out of college and eventually went and played pro, that was was there always a plan to come back to the game of basketball and continue coaching? Or did you, if the opportunity presented itself, or what was kind of your whole thought process, I guess, before you returned to the game?
The plan, I don't know if I ever totally ruled out, but I had absolutely no plans of coming back to high school. I had absolutely no plans. If anything, more or less it was the collegiate level. But then I didn't want to start all over.
A brand new program.
And start all over at the bottom. Go and be the director of basketball operations, the third assistant. Thing. I just feel like the experience I have had, even though I haven't coached at the collegiate level, I feel like the experience that I had, I can do well at that level without starting at the bottom. But unfortunately, it's kind of a tier system.
Yeah,
you got to put in your work and you move up the ranks. So the thing is, coming back, I had no thoughts on coming back. And at some point in time, Northwest's job came open, and I was approached.
So you were approached. You didn't approach Northwest.
No, I didn't approach Northwest. It was an opportunity that was made available. Northwest expressed interest in me as the coach, and to be honest with you, I had no thoughts on coming to Northwest to coach. But the thing is, the more and more we talked, and my youngest daughter, because she still had 1 year left at the University of West Georgia, and this is the ironic part, I had a career, so I'm a supervisor at juvenile court in Polk County. So so any juvenile get in trouble, in Polk County, it comes to my desk.
Yeah.
So I supervise.
So I shouldn't get in trouble.
No, I don't get in trouble. So I supervise 10 juvenile probation officers. So that's my full-time job, which I love. Remember I told you, my passion was helping kids, and this is a position that allows me to do that. So my daughter, I took a part-time job at the airport. Why? I flew for free. I can just get up tomorrow morning and say, hey, I'm going to Miami for the day. So I did that because I was spending enormous amounts of money traveling around and things like that.
You'd have to if you lived in Des Moines and
exactly
people playing in Boston and playing down in Georgia.
Exactly. So there was nothing else I had to do with my time. I wasn't coaching anymore. So I took this job. So I was flying down to Georgia and flying all around with her.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
where in West Georgia did you play? Like what city?
She played Carrollton, Georgia.
Is that any close to Marietta? That's where I grew
up.
I grew up in Marietta.
Yeah,
so.
It's funny because our car is in storage in Marietta.
Actually?
I've just put our car in storage because we put a car because she's going to live down there. So I put it in storage when she left for Germany. So the thing is, once we got going with that, is that I'm just like, I want to travel and see her. So it was like easy, just to shut it all off. Now I'm traveling to see her. Those things. Then she said to me about Northwest. She said, Dad, I wanted to see her this last year. I was like, I don't want anywhere. I want to jump on a plane and come down and see her. And she said to me, Dad, I think God is speaking to your heart. I think this is something you're supposed to do. So I actually prayed. God is the leader of my life. It's at the center of my life. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I prayed about this because I had no wish of coming back to high school. And God put it on my heart. There's a purpose for you at Northwest. And to be honest with you, I was very, very reluctant because there's no African-American coaches at Northwest, or not very many places in the suburbs. So I knew I would be a first. And coming into an environment where it's quite different from Des Moines East, where you have all this diversity, and you come here where you have nothing and nobody that looks like you. I look at my team, there was very little diversity, and I really started to struggle with the idea, what can I offer these young ladies? Mm-hmm. What can I offer them that they don't already have? And then it quickly the answer came to me. The girls that I coach at East, there were certain things they needed. And the girls here, it's different, but there's certain things they need as well. Because I'm about making an impact. I don't want to just be here and win games. I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
So that was the difference for me. I prayed. God put it on my heart. Said, I have a purpose for you out at Northwest.
Yeah. If you can, what was the differences between the things you would help the people out on the team, difference between people from East and people from Northwest?
You have, one of the barometers that they measure socioeconomic status is free and reduced lunch. You got kids on free and reduced lunch. You got kids who qualify for the FOSFA. When you have kids here that don't, because their socioeconomic status is totally different.
Yeah.
You're dealing with primary minority girls, and a lot of them don't have two-parent households.
Yeah.
So the mother or the father is working. You got to give them rides. You got to do these things. Here at Northwest, that's not necessarily the dynamics of this community. So now I spent so much time, and I loved I loved it. I wouldn't trade that experience for nothing in the world because this has made me a better coach. I spent so much time giving kids rides, making sure kids are taken care of, being a father, being a parent sometime, being an academic advisor sometime. All those years it wore on you. It was great, and I loved every minute of it. Yeah. But, as you get older,
takes a toll,
I don't have that type of energy no more. So I just needed to, this was a situation that allowed me to come in and just coach. Mm-hmm. Just coach. Then here was the other thing. With the change now, with the conferences, I wanted that challenge. CIML, this is one of the toughest conferences in the Midwest.
Yeah, we call it the SEC.
Yeah.
SEC of Iowa. Yeah.
That's a good way to think of it. And I wanted that challenge to see, can I come in here? I consider myself one of the best coaches around. Yeah. I wanted to come in and compete against what I think are the best coaches,
best teams
in this conference and teams. So
yeah. So initially getting to that job, but when you accepted it, was it kind of to some extent scary, or can you kind of walk through what your opening thoughts were when you accepted the job, and also how you got the job initially?
If I'm being real honest, when I got the job, how would people view me as an African American in this? Mm-hmm. My reputation I come in as reputation. Man, he is he's an intense coach. He's a big dude too. He no small dude. He's a big dude. He comes with a resume of success, but I had never coached. And I'm not saying at East I had a Caucasian kid here and there, never coached a whole team of Caucasian kids. And so I did. I questioned myself. Can I connect with them? Can I build relationships with them? Mm-hmm. Can I get them to buy in to me? So I think that was the biggest thing. How would they view me? How would they accept me?
Yeah.
Coming into this community. Mm-hmm. And I think what sold it for me is I asked the question during my interview. It's a blunt question. Is Waukee ready for a black coach? And is that community? And what was said to me is that's what was the difference. It was said to me, I don't know if the community are, the school is. We want to diversify. That if they had a spoke for the entire community, I wouldn't have took the job because that wouldn't have been true.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's keep it 100.
So it's kind of like a trick question that you
exactly.
Yeah.
And so the answer was correct. And that's when I decided to take the job is mm-hmm. when they was like, we're committed to diversifying the school and we embrace diversity. And I believe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So kind of looking at like the success mm-hmm. of the team on the court, initially it was a bit of like trying to figure everything out, probably a little bit of growing pains. But like, can you kind of talk about like what is this, year 3 for you, right?
2.
Year 2, yeah. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of talk about going from the brand new team to now where it's like you guys are like qualifying possibly, yeah. I think you will qualify for the state tournament.
I didn't coach young AAU teams. I have never coached a young varsity team that was as young as
this team is really young, yeah.
Yeah. Last year, we started 3. One girl had even turned 14. She
was still 13?
Yeah, she was still 13. We started 3 freshmen
yeah.
and 2 seniors, and Sadie Moss was one of the seniors that we started along those lines. So I had never coached a team that young. And so
that, like highs of the highs and lows of the lows.
Exactly.
I don't know how old Sadie is, but she's probably older than 13 years old.
Yeah.
So.
Sadie was, So they, and then, they was kids that I wasn't used to coaching. So took time to get them. I see this guy coming in. I was like, ooh, we got a loud voice, and then I can be firm. At the end of the day, I'm flexible, but I'll be firm. So coming in, that's what it was. It was a lot of hesitancy. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I didn't coach the way I was capable of coaching last year. Mm-hmm. With that, because I was too busy, I think at some point in time I even got into the mode of worried about how people view me or how they're viewing me or what are they saying behind closed doors. Some paranoia if you really want to be honest.
Yeah.
I never really felt like I hit my stride last year. But as a result, even though we didn't hit that stride, those girls came in and we played Pleasant Valley. We was about 500 last year. We played Pleasant Valley in the regional championship game at Pleasant Valley, and they had brought their whole team back, and they won it the year they was the defending state title.
Oh, shoot, yeah. So they're good, probably.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And we go into Pleasant Valley, and everything came together. In that game, we had a 6-point lead with 3 minutes to go in that game, and some unfortunate calls that was didn't go our way.
Yeah.
That I felt like we walked away, felt like this opportunity was taken away from us. That team with those 3 freshmen could have very easily been in the state tournament last year. Now the carryover, because now they're sophomores.
And the experience, which most freshmen, when they come on a team, have barely see the court.
Yeah. Exactly. So now we have 4 sophomores and a junior. And our top reserves off the bench is a freshman and a sophomore.
Yeah.
What has been our saving grace, our junior, Vanna Billick, has done a great job, and she's steadily growing, has done a great job leading this team. Mm-hmm. She has done a great job leading this team. So it's been real fun to watch her grow, watch her grow into her own skin and just lead this team. And right now this team is finished the year 16-4, and the only 2 losses. We lost to number 1, Johnston, twice, 13th ranked team in the country, and we lost to Dallas twice. Yeah. So that's where we sit, and now we head into this regional with a lot of anticipation.
Yeah, what can we expect from the team? Then also, how have you prepared them, considering you've won championships in the past, but also just been to the tournament multiple times with different teams?
We're really working. We're working hard in practice. We got a whole week before we play on Saturday. The focus has been pay attention to the details. It won't be the big things that cause you to lose a game. It's the little things. A missed block out, not talking on the floor. Some of those little details that it's hard now to get them to accept. Why? They 16-4. They number third-ranked team in the state.
Yeah.
4 sophomores and a junior on the floor.
No seniors on the team.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's hard sometimes. I think it's challenging to get them to totally grasp that part, how important those details are. But we're really focusing, me and the coaching staff are really focusing on details, paying attention to the details.
Yeah. What do you think the ceiling for this team is, either this year and next year and the next 2 years?
I think the ceiling for this team, with the continued support of the parents and administration, I think the ceiling for this team is state title. I think it's state title.
Mm-hmm.
It's no secret that number 3 team, some of the teams now, some of the favorites.
Will lose players and stuff?
Yeah, they lose players. So coming back, some would think, hey, Waukee Northwest for the next 2 years is going to be the preseason number 1 team in the state. I don't want them to buy into that. I want them to just go into this. It doesn't matter. I want them to go into this believing in themselves and continue to work hard. The same recipe that got us here, hard work, focus, buy-in. Those are the things I want them to buy into and not get caught up in all that other stuff that people will say to them.
Yeah. Just like in general with a lot of like the strategy and stuff, like I've always been interested about this. Like in the 90s, obviously like the style of basketball is different.
Mm-hmm.
And then also with AAU teams, a lot of people have different styles of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you help balance all of them? Obviously, you weren't gone from coaching for that long, but like, was there something new you had to learn coming into Northwest? Like, because I'm guessing, especially coming into a program where it's like you don't get to completely rebuild it from scratch, like you kind of did with the East. Like, was it weird with basketball? Like, I'm not too much of a basketball mind.
What I was able to do, I kind of knew the style of play coming in, we was going to have to play. And again, I'm used to super athletic kids that run and jump out the roof and things like that. What I did is I spent a whole lot of time that summer traveling around watching them play AAU. So I knew the dynamics. I watched every game that they played.
And what they could give.
Yes, for the last couple of years. So I had a great idea. And when you come in, what I did realize is this: as an experienced coach, keep it simple. Here's the old saying: the more you find, and again, to each his own. You have some coaches it works great for them. They run a ton of set plays and run all these sophisticated inbound plays and offensive systems. Keep it simple. The more you give kids to think about, the slower they feet get.
Oh yeah. No kidding. Yeah.
We try to just keep it simple.
Want to play basketball, yeah.
Run a 5-out motion offense, a lot of movement, teach kids to read cuts, read angles, things, so again, to each his own. It works for some coaches. Here, I knew I had to teach them to play the game, to not sit out there and be robotic. Yeah. So a lot of things we put in place is just real simple. We don't do nothing really fancy. It's just simple.
Yeah. Kind of coming to a close, talking about like your future of the team, like is like your end goal before you eventually either retire again or like do that as a winning championship here, or like what do you see as like the cherry on top? Because just looking at your career right now, like if you didn't come back, it's almost like to some extent of like die the hero, see yourself become the villain kind of a deal. Like, I don't think you'll ever get to that point, because I think Northwest will be too successful, especially with the future of this team looking really, really bright.
Right.
But like, what do you think the future for you as a coach looks like?
I don't know. To be honest, and I'm always honest. I take it year by year. People say to me, "You're coming back next year." I say, "I'll take 2 weeks off." It doesn't matter. Remember, championship is not my end goal.
Yes.
If that's
changing people,
right? If this is what the girls want, I'll help them get to that point along those lines. I've been very fortunate to be blessed with a great coaching staff that really provides a lot of support for us. But at the end, for me and for the girls, but I will say, I can't. If somebody said, "Hey, will you be back next year?" I don't know. Will you be back? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because my goal coming here, I'm basically doing what God put on my heart to do. God didn't say when he answered my prayer, he didn't say, hey, I'm sending you there to win a championship. I don't know what my purpose is yet.
Yeah.
I really don't know. It hasn't been clear to me at this point. So each and every year, at the end of this year, state championship, no state tournament appearance, no state, those things really doesn't factor into the decision. I'll pray and I'll just kind of I know this is weird for some folks. It's like, no, I really let this point, I let God kind of direct my path. That's what he did for me at Des Moines East. And it's truly, basketball has been such a blessing in my life and afforded me and my daughters. I mean, like you say, when you look at it, man, both the daughters played Division I.
Okay.
He played Division I. Everybody went to school for free. So nobody took out a student loan or had to dip into the college savings account or anything like that. So it has been a blessing. And I feel like when my time to move, it'll be clear. It'll be clear. So I take it year by year. I don't know where this road goes because I don't have any desire and look towards to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to next high school. No, if anything, I would think college will be an option, but then the situation has to be right for me.
Yeah. Just kind of to close it all, can we make a deal? If you guys make it to the championship, can you pull out the Undertaker suit? I don't know if you still have it.
I got another one.
You have another one. Another one. If you make it to the championship, can you wear the suit during that game? I'll
pull out because it's perfect because Waukee colors are black and blue.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. That's a perfect occasion. I'll wear Undertaker Park, the sequel.
The sequel.
Yes.
Well, we have a deal. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show and taking time out of your day and staying after practice. And
Enjoyed it. Yeah. Enjoyed it.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you.